At first, the cave looks beautiful. Then the ceiling cracks, ice dust falls through the blue air. And inside Iceland's blue ice cave, the most dangerous thing moving in the dark isn't an animal. It's the cave itself. For a few seconds, your brain does not even treat it like a cave. It feels more like the inside of something alive. The ceiling glows electric blue, like light trapped inside a giant sapphire. The walls curve like frozen waves. The floor is black, wet, and silent. But after that first crack, the beauty changes. Every shine in the ice starts to feel sharp. Every drip sounds closer. Every shadow deeper in the tunnel feels less like scenery and more like a warning. That is the part most people do not understand about Iceland's blue ice caves. They are not fixed. They are not permanent. And when people ask what is moving inside this blue ice cave, the most disturbing answer is not always something hidden in the darkness. Sometimes it is the cave itself. This is Vatnajökull, the largest ice cap in Europe. A frozen giant so massive it covers about 8% of Iceland. From above, it looks calm, white, almost endless. But inside, it feels unstable in a way photographs can never fully capture. Because these caves are not carved like ordinary rock caves over millions of years. They are formed when meltwater cuts tunnels through a glacier that is already under pressure, already under stress, already slowly moving under its own enormous weight. So when you step inside one of these blue chambers, you are not entering an ancient stone room that will outlive you unchanged. You are entering a temporary space inside a body of ice that is still shifting, still forming, still deciding what shape it wants to be. That is why the first impression is so deceptive. Everything looks frozen in time, but almost nothing here is truly still. The blue is so intense, it seems unreal, but there is a reason for it. Dense glacial ice absorbs more of the red part of light and allows blue wavelengths to survive, scatter, and return to your eyes. That is why the cave glows, as if it is lit from within. It is not magic, it is physics. But in a place like this, physics feels supernatural. Some walls look polished, smooth, like glass shaped by invisible hands. Others look torn apart, ridged, folded, and twisted into forms that resemble ribs, veins, or frozen muscle. The deeper you stare into that blue, the less it feels like simple geology. It begins to feel like you are standing inside a giant sleeping organism, and then there is the movement. A glacier is not frozen water sitting still on a mountain. It flows, slowly enough to fool the eye, but fast enough to reshape land, redirect rivers, open fractures, and destroy the very tunnels people travel here to see. In some glaciers, movement can happen on the scale of centimeters to meters per day. That may not sound dramatic until you remember what surrounds you. The roof above your head is not rock. The walls beside you are not permanent. Everything belongs to a structure that is creeping downhill, responding to gravity, pressure, meltwater, and temperature. Which means this cave is less like architecture and more like a moment. A brief opening caught in the act of becoming something else. That changes the question completely. What is moving inside this blue ice cave? At first, it sounds like a horror story, like maybe there is some hidden creature deeper in the tunnel. But the real answer is stranger, because the entire cave is full of motion. Meltwater moves through the glacier. Air moves through the chamber. Tiny fractures spread through the walls. Pressure shifts through the ice. The glacier itself continues its slow forward crawl. Sometimes the movement is invisible. Sometimes it announces itself through a drip, a sharp pop in the ceiling, a distant crack that rolls through the tunnel like a whisper from somewhere you cannot see. And that is what makes the danger feel immediate. You do not need to see collapse to know it is possible. You only need one sound to understand that the cave around you is not resting. It is adjusting. Vatnajökull becomes even more unsettling when you remember where it exists. This is Iceland, a country where ice and fire live almost on top of each other. Beneath and around this giant glacier are volcanic systems, geothermal forces, ash layers, and the possibility of sudden flood events triggered by heat or eruptions beneath the ice. In some sections, dark volcanic ash becomes trapped inside the glacier, leaving black bands and stains in the blue walls like scars suspended in glass. That contrast makes the cave feel beautiful and wrong at the same time. The ceiling glows blue, but the floor can look almost black. The chamber feels ancient, but the tunnel may not survive the next warm season. The ice looks pure, but it carries the memory of fire. And that is one of the most haunting truths about these caves. They are seasonal. Many form through meltwater activity during warmer periods, then become accessible mainly in winter, usually between November and March, when the cold makes conditions more stable. But stable does not mean permanent. Every cave is temporary. Every tunnel is fragile. The exact corridor you walk through one year may collapse, melt away, or reform into something entirely different by the next. So, even the most beautiful image from Vatnajökull is really a record of something already vanishing. You are not looking at a monument. You are looking at a phase, a brief, luminous phase in the life of a glacier. That changes the emotional weight of everything you see. Because this place is not only beautiful, it is time-sensitive, it is unstable. It exists at the intersection of pressure, weather, melt, and luck. And once you understand that, the blue becomes less comforting. It starts to feel tense. It starts to feel like a color under stress. The silence inside the cave becomes harder to trust. The stillness begins to feel false. You realize that what makes the cave so mesmerizing is the same thing that makes it dangerous. It is a masterpiece built from something that refuses to stay still. This is where the impact on modern life becomes impossible to ignore, because Vatnajökull's ice caves are not just natural wonders anymore. They have become symbols of climate change, environmental fragility, and the terrifying beauty of things that do not last. Iceland's glaciers have lost more than 2,100 square kilometers of area since their late 19th century maximum. And between 2000 and 2017 alone, they lost more than 700 square kilometers. That means when millions of people see these glowing blue caves online and think they are looking at timeless natural beauty, they may actually be looking at a climate-sensitive phenomenon caught in one of its last great eras. These caves now shape tourism, research, visual media, environmental storytelling, and the way modern audiences imagine planetary change. They are not just destinations. They are warnings that happen to look like miracles. And that may be the most disturbing truth hidden inside the blue. The movement in this cave is not just physical, it is historical, it is planetary. The cave moves because the glacier moves. The glacier changes because the climate changes. The tunnel appears because meltwater carves it, and disappears because warmth, pressure, and instability destroy it. So the question slowly changes meaning. What is moving inside this blue ice cave? Pressure is moving. Water is moving. Time is moving. A balance that once felt eternal is moving towards something less certain. And once you understand that, the cave stops looking like a fantasy and starts feeling like evidence. So maybe Vatnajökull is not best understood as a frozen palace or a crystal cathedral. Maybe it is better understood as a living warning wrapped in impossible beauty. A place where the earth briefly opens its frozen body and lets you step inside the process. A place where stillness turns out to be an illusion. Because long after you leave Iceland, that feeling stays with you. Not just the color, not just the scale, but the sense that something in there was moving, even when nothing seemed to move at all. And maybe that is what makes this cave so haunting. It reveals that beauty can be unstable, silence can be active, and ice can feel alive without ever being alive. If this cave made you question what was moving inside the ice, the next place is even harder to explain. Like this video, subscribe to Off the Map and enter our next episode. Verja geothermal area, Iceland Daud. Why does this ground look alive? Because in that place, the Earth does not look dead, solid or silent. It looks like something underneath is trying to rise.